is Rock and Roll Grad School with your hosts Heidi Hedquist and Luke Poling. Beth can hear them calling, but she won't pick up the phone.
Hello, kiddies. We're going to have a good time together. We've got Jeremy Ivey on the show today. I guess we'd say country music superstar, something like that. No?
I don't know.
He's making all of us look bad. Yeah.
Definitely making us look bad.
3 albums.
Our friend
in 2
Jeremy
years.
Ivey makes us look bad.
Yes, perfect. I'd like to also sort of look at this episode as a chance in the pre-show part here while we're talking to kind of clear the boards, clear our docket, as it were.
Okay.
So a couple of things. Do you hear that sound?
Not again.
Yep, we're checking in on Eric Clapton. So Eric has canceled his 3 shows in Russia.
See, we were totally premature with our dinkness.
No statement as to why he has or has not, but I thought we don't want to tar someone with a dink brush and then not take it back. So I thought it was important to acknowledge that he or his management has said playing a show in Moscow is not a good idea right now.
Right. People don't have to give a reason. We all know. Just not doing it.
Yes, exactly. And then for our guests, our listeners who listen to the show a lot, they probably know of our relationship with a bunch of different PR companies. So one of the people we do like is our friend Amy.
Yes.
And because she has a fascinating Venn diagram of clients that include both Scorpions and Insane Clown Posse, which I don't even know if it's a Venn diagram or just 2 circles very, very close together.
Right. I think that's probably right.
So, but we're not talking about Amy today because of that. We are talking about this email that I received today. And I think this should be filed under, how is this not already a thing?
Okay.
Headline, in quotes, "It's cold gin time again." The hottest band in the world launches the world's most rock and roll gin in the US. Okay. So, of course, you wanted the best, you got the best. Kiss has released ice cold gin to go with all of your tonics. And so it follows, last year they had a rum collection spelled with a K.
Yes.
Under a new brand that is called Drink It Up by Kiss, because as you know, it ain't a crime to be good to yourself.
It ain't a crime to be good to yourself. This is true.
So they are launching gin. They have guitar picks with all of the various logos on it. And it's the thing that surprised me about this was it's 2022.
Yes.
This band is, let's say, has a penchant for marketing.
The best.
And the fact that only now they're getting into cold gin blows my mind.
Well, when you are so fantastic at marketing,
right,
and you have pieces of every pie,
right,
and everybody else is dabbling in liquor, you may just kind of
sure. I mean, you're Bob Dylan's, and I think you're Jimmy Buffett's. Of course, your Sammy Hagar's your gold standard.
Yes.
I just feel like if they could, there would be a giant standee at Petco with Peter Criss that would say, "Don't trust a cat boy, trust the cat man," and he'd be selling you cat food.
But that's what
Which are you listening?
So
Imes. Yeah.
If that was the case.
So I'm just shocked that only now are we getting down to cold gin.
I know.
With the
and why did they pick rum than gin? Like, why were those the spirits of choice?
I don't know. Do you think they're more of a vodka? Was that what you're saying?
No, I think no. I actually
wine
think
cooler. Is that what you're saying? Wine cooler?
No, wine cooler would be us.
Yeah.
I definitely think gin is a good choice for them. I'm just curious because of what's been the trendy celebrity liquors of late. Like, were they chatting with Ryan Reynolds and going like, "Oh, we're gonna get in that game with you"?
I don't know. The thing that's interesting is that the press release again uses the phrase, or the sentence in one of these says, inspired by the band's roots in New York City, I don't know what that means. Kiss gin creates a taste explosion that's always cranked up to 11.
Okay.
Did they suddenly have a sense of humor and didn't tell any of us? Why is there Spinal Tap reference in here?
Maybe I'm not sure. They
So
have the humor when they want to, when it's on their terms.
fair. They do have a quote from one of the members of the group. Paul Stanley says, "Now it really is called gin time. If gin is your thing, then this is the one to bring. Like the song, this one's a classic." So there you go. Impress your friends with the stylish bottle, including the eye-catching gold and silver details, with all 4 band members metallically illustrated on each side of the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yes. We definitely need
Yeah.
some Kiss gin.
The deco pattern behind the disc, which I think is the low cap, is
Mhm.
based on the scales of the demon's boots. So there you go.
Even better.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to hit up my local liquor dispensary.
Yeah. Well, you know what I just learned? I didn't
What?
realize, and I can't believe this hadn't been done sooner.
Please.
We've got all of our, all of our 19 Crimes Snoop variations. There is now Martha's Shard.
Perfect. That's what everyone needs.
It is. It made me so happy.
We edit this all later, so we sound smarter.
Insert some like famous quotes into what I'm saying,
Yes.
Oh yeah, no,
1000%.
definitely. Yeah.
Some philosophy,
Yes.
No, I think, well, because Jeremy, as you once said, ask not what your country can do for you.
Yeah, that was me.
But yeah. This record's really enjoyable. And I know as a songwriter and a collaborator, it seems like you're constantly working on stuff. Were these 10 songs things that kind of came together around the same time? Or was this something that you kind of were picking through other things you were working on and kind of pulling scraps from places?
No, this is all written within like a 2-month period, Some stuff, it's funny, I'm working on something now that I'm kind of pulling together scraps because I've had so many songs, some leftover things. So I have kind of 2 piles, one with a certain vibe and another one with a certain vibe. And they're just pieces of stuff that I've had. But this one was specific to, I think the first song I wrote was Black Mood. And I realized I was kind of writing about myself. And so I just kind of went in that direction,
Because I was wondering, there's a line in there about nurses and sickness, and I was going like, is this about your COVID battle, or am I just reading way into this and going through the like kind of TMZ side of songwriting?
No, that a lot of times I do go for more obscure references, but that is about I weathered the sickness with no prognosis. That was about COVID, which that's the line in the song that I feel like is the most boring because it's the word prognosis isn't very poetic, but it just kind of came out that way, and I just kept it. So
Flows. It's got a good flow off the tongue. Prognosis. I mean, nobody likes the word prognosis,
yeah.
but it works in the song. It's good.
I just wrote the line synthetic stasis, so I guess I'm in that same realm still,
But that's a good one. That's a tongue twister on top of everything else. Well, it was funny because listening to the album, which is so good, and then stalking through all your social media as we do. One moment I was like, oh man, Trial by Fire is my favorite song. And I see this post of yours and you're like, this is my favorite song on the new album. And then I looked again and then you're like, no, wait, this is my favorite song on the new album. And I did the same thing as a listener, but it's so fun to see an artist sort of evolving with their work too, to go like, nope, I love this one, but nope, now I'm kind of feeling this one. What's your favorite today?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like with the curse of being a musician, I don't know if it's like this with people that paint or work on other things that take a while to do, but there's no possible way to write, record, mix and master a record and not hate it. It's impossible. Like no matter how good of a job you did, you've heard it so many times, it's meaningless to you. And so with this one, I purposely listened to it a lot when it was going on. I purposely haven't listened to it. And I don't even have a way to listen to the whole album right now. I think the link expired on my Dropbox, so it's not out, and the label has it, so I kind of like that. So when each song's coming out, I'm like, I listen to it, I'm like, ah, I remember that. Not that I could ever forget, but yeah, it's like when you say a word too many times, it just. So really, maybe the reason I'm like, this was my favorite, this was my favorite, because I haven't heard them in a while. Uh, as far as songs go, I think Trial by Fire was my favorite because it was so easy. It just came out, and I didn't have to work at it. I'm lazy like anybody else at my job. So if something just comes to me and there's no work involved, and it's like, it also means it was inspired and from somewhere else.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly. It just was meant to be.
yeah.
Yeah, it makes me think of that song you wrote, Mr. Tambourine Man.
Oh
Right.
yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But looking through the credit list, you kind of went with some different players than who have played on past records. I didn't see any of the extraterrestrials on there. Am I reading that correctly?
They played on one song. It was Downhill, but that was supposed to be a B-side for something, and I just ended up liking it, so we put it on the record. So it's like a yes and no answer, because for the sessions of the record, they didn't play on them, but we went in to do the song "All Kinds of Blue" for a single, and we wanted a B-side, which didn't end up even being a 45, so it doesn't really matter. But that was an extra song. But yeah, I just kind of went with what Andrea, where his head was at, and the people he'd been using. I was really digging a couple records he'd been working on, and I didn't. I knew the bass player, Jack Lawrence, through the Third Man Connection.
Right.
Um, he's in the Rockin' Tours and Dead Weather and all that. And he was a buddy of mine. I mean, just kind of like we would see each other at events and things. We would go off and like get a beer or something and hang out. But I never like played with him or anything. So that was cool. Megan Coleman is an incredible badass drummer, and she played on it. It was just kind of, yeah, it was kind of like Andrea's hodgepodge of musicians that he has in East Nashville.
And are they coming out with you on this tour that's upcoming, or are you bringing the extraterrestrials?
It's just gonna be me.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm just gonna be driving myself. I'm gonna be chasing the tour bus. I've been, for the past few years with Margot, I've been in the tour bus. I've never chased one in a van. So it's going to be interesting because you know how tour buses work. They get done with the show and they drive at night.
mhm.
And so, I'm going to have to be basically chasing them. There's only a couple big drives, but I'm going to have to like get off stage and get in the car and start driving.
So
But
how are you going to stay awake? What are you going to listen to?
probably some sort of podcast or book on tape. I think audio books are good for that. It keeps my focus to the story. So I need to find a good one. If you have suggestions, I need to put on like War and Peace or something. Just
Oh,
like
God, no.
uh,
No war and peace allowed.
um,
Anything but that.
yeah, I'm not going to take a band, but it's I'm kind of okay with it. Because of the pandemic, I haven't played with my band hardly at all. Kind of
Yeah.
random things here and there. And because of that, I've gotten I not toot my own horn, but I've gotten a lot better at guitar by myself. So songs like Trial by Fire, where I'm picking and playing, I have more of that repertoire. So that'll be good, just to kind of uh, work that muscle and get better at being a solo acoustic guy.
And it's got to be good too to just sort of try new arrangements with these songs as well, and just see where else they can take you, and what else you can do with them.
Yeah, and also just to be able to represent the musicality of it with just one guitar. I mean, you can strum. I've always said this, if you can have a hugely produced song, but if you can't sit down with a guitar and play it and it's not good, then it's just trash anyway. And
Mhm.
so you can polish a turd, the whole thing, but it's still a turd.
That's
Um,
the motto of our
Another one.
show.
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah,
Say another one of your great quotes that you brought to the brought to the
made
world.
that right now. So I've been really into that, and I, got a lot into like a flamenco guitar over the pandemic, and learning just new styles and how to carry a melody and play the chords at the same time, that sort of thing, which I think is cool. And I enjoy it. Last night I went, and I'm trying to get ready for this tour. So last night I went to a local bar and played, kind of popped in and played a set, and it's like a, it's a bar, so people, it's hard. It's a place called D's. It's like one side of the bar is like the room that's like the listening room. It's all open, but there's kind of two sections. The other side is like the bar and the pool tables and stuff. It's easy to get this side quiet, but to get the side where people are like sitting at the bar and talking to each other, to get them to shut up, it's really hard. So with just a guitar, so I achieved that last night. So I feel pretty.
That's
I'm on a high from that because I got everyone to shut up. So that's kind of the whole point. If I'm playing by myself, I need to get people's attention somehow.
Yeah, that's a pretty good achievement.
yeah.
Yeah, the band is like easy to get people's attention because you just come in on one chord and show
Strong.
at least for a second until they think it sucks and they go back to talking. But
Right. No, but when you guys open with something like Black Dog, one of your big hits, everyone pays
yeah,
attention. Yeah.
Yes.
always our opener too.
No,
Made
it
it
makes
like,
complete sense.
it just shuts the crowd up.
Yeah.
Immediately.
When I get the bow out too, that's
Yeah. And that theremin always.
yeah.
Yeah. So this is your, I think we said, third album in 3.5 years, and you included a really serious illness in there. Have you been
And a new baby.
Yeah. Oh yeah. New baby. Did you write anything this morning or this week? Like, make us feel unproductive. What have you done in the past?
I did. I was working on a song. I'm always really excited to do interviews, so I wasn't bummed out. But I was in the middle of writing right when I was like, "Oh shit, it's 12." So,
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
So we already ruined the next one.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
basically, that's our fault.
on my phone, so I know how the melody goes, and I've got a sketch of the lyrics in my notepad. So I'm
We're
good.
gonna hear it, and it's gonna be all about these two assholes he met on a podcast. I'm like, hey, that's us. We don't care. It's a great song.
Yeah. This will help me finish the lyrics.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, that's what we're here for. Well, and one of the things that's so amazing about your work and your personal story is your entire life is just, it's incredible. And what you've been through and accomplished and your personality and how it all comes through and comes together is this just incredible juxtaposition. And one of the things we often find on our show is that is actually really wonderful about it is that individuals can take a path that may have, hiccups or terrible things that happen, or may, find their what they always wanted at a time that might have been a little bit later than people deem what's usual. And I was reading an article with you where you were talking a little bit about that and how, what difference does it make how old you are, and as you're close in age to us. Why do you think people give up on that, and why do you think you didn't?
I wish that people would just let me live, let people live their life and quit telling me that I'm old. I mean, it's like,
Yes.
I've always had old man taste, I've always been, even when I was like 18, the kind of music I liked was like not in. I liked a lot of 60s and 70s stuff that my friends weren't really that into. So I don't take offense when people say that about me now, because I'm like, I've always been, the mind doesn't age the way the body does. And it doesn't really matter, I'm still pretty with it as far as I know, what the kids are doing on TikTok, I know what's in the world enough to get by, to raise my family, to give the people around me love, and I don't need to feel guilty for being a certain age. And there will be some point where I'll lose my edge, or I'll, maybe not. I mean, speaking of Dylan, like, he hasn't really, you can just kind of go forever until you're done, and always be doing some sort of meaningful art if that's what you want to do.
I feel like that keeps us all young too, right? Like art feeds the soul. So
I definitely think writing keeps me sharp, because it's like my grandmother always did the crossword, puzzle in the paper like every single day, and that, and she never went senile. She went before she went.
yeah.
So I think that sort of thing, that figuring out puzzles, it's good for your brain, and I feel like that's what writing a song is. You have a mood, and you got to put the pieces together to the puzzle, and I really enjoy it. I just didn't see a reason to put out records before. I was really into trying to boost Margot's career, and I thought that I still think she's a talent in the family. I mean, she's gifted with this,
She's done okay. Yeah.
Yeah, she's all
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, you're both okay. Like, you're passable.
meh.
You know.
When I met her, she hadn't really found her voice or who she was. I mean, she could sing always, she could sing since she was like 3, but she sounded a lot different. She hadn't found like who she specifically was. She was impersonating things, and so it's cool to watch. But I always believed in her, and knew that if there was any like sanity or justice in the world, that she would have a career in music, But I was always behind. I mean, I was always writing with her, and
Right.
I was always a musician. It was my calling, no matter what. I just didn't feel the need to put records out because I think sometimes when you do the kind of music that I do, I don't think in your 20s you just do a lot of embarrassing things that you want out there later anyway. So I had some weird albums that I recorded in my basement, and I'm glad that nobody has.
Well, I was going to say that there's a lot of things I feel like that I would not have done at a younger age, or been smart enough to know, oh, you should do this at a younger age. And, to go back to the puzzle side of writing and such, something like Dylan's Murder Most Foul, he couldn't have written that before. And even he talks about earlier stuff being like, I don't know how I did that. And it's sort of continually changing that puzzle to keep yourself fresh.
I think the question was, someone asked him about like, "It's all right, Mom, when I'm bleeding,"
Yeah, I think so.
recently, and he was like, "Yeah, I can't. I don't know who wrote that. That was someone else." Yeah, I mean that's the way it is, and I think that um, like I said, I've recorded a few albums that I would give to my friends, and lots of that was just fun, or just me really figuring out how to work my equipment that I had reel to reels, and uh, and maybe there's a couple things I've used later, little pieces of music that came from that.
Mhm.
Uh, I think as a whole, I would be a little embarrassed of it. There's one called Peppermint Weasel was one of the albums.
It's amazing.
Well, yeah, that needs to
the
see the light
title
of day.
alone, yeah.
Very strange.
I can already see I already want the t-shirt.
That record called Eyebrows. And
Also fantastic.
the funny thing is, I wasn't really doing drugs at the time. I just, I go with the whole Salvador Dali quote, another quote here.
See?
But he's like, I don't need drugs, I am drugs,
It's a great
And
one.
although I do love drugs too, don't get me wrong. But
Still,
I've
you don't
made some,
need them
yeah, I made some
because you are
weird
them.
things, yeah, while being sober, But maybe someday that album will leak out there.
That'd be
It's pretty
fantastic.
funny.
Amazing. I would love that.
Do now throw one of your. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. What was that?
The Peppermint Weasel coming out this fall,
Yeah.
Yes. Well, you heard it here first.
Yeah.
On Rock and Roll Grad School. Exclusive.
So to now take one of your own quotes and throw it back at you. In one interview, you said that the first thought is the best thought, and that's your approach to recording. And a lot of the songs on this record have a lot of really cool orchestration and strings and other stuff's going on. Did you always hear those, or was that something that you got in the studio and were like, I think we could build on this?
I mean, I still kind of believe in that philosophy, but I was specifically talking about my first 2 records, which were very like throw it at the wall and see what sticks.
Mhm.
This record was a little more thought out because it wasn't me doing all the thinking. It was like I just kind of trusted the musicians, and if you have the right musicians, you don't really have to. I mean, the worst thing you can do is go to a session, and I've played on sessions before, and people instruct you exactly what to do. It's good when you can put yourself into it. And I believe that. So, I mean, like the string parts, this guy Billy Contreras, who's like in my book a certified genius, just kind of seeing music in his head. He did all the string parts, arranged them, wrote them, and what he would do, he would come in the studio, and this is during COVID, so we all wore masks, but this guy would have like 4 masks on, and like gloves, and he'd come in, and he had 4 violins, fiddles, whatever, they're different sizes. So I'm guessing maybe a couple of them were violas, but different timbres, and he would listen to the song like an insane amount of times and not say a word. He'd just be like, play it again, play it again, play it again. Totally quiet, listen to it through. I mean, maybe 100 times. I don't know. I'd be sitting on the couch like, oh my God, like I hate this song now. And he wouldn't play a note. And then he'd be like, all right, record. And then he would like put down the first part, and then he would layer it up. And the longest part was just listening. But once he knew what the part was, he'd play it perfectly, but it would just take him as long as it would take to get through all the different you know violin parts, and it's
Wow.
incredible stuff. It's really like inspired. There's a couple things. I think it's on uh, "Keep Me High." It's just like cascading thing that happens on the bridge, and he was following. There was a rototom, which is that stupid '80s like drum thing we thought funny to put on the do 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 thing,
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and he was hitting the notes that Rototom was making. He was following the Rototom on pizzicato, and just that kind of stuff you can't like teach someone how to do that. He just has this like he was a George Jones fiddle player for a while, but he's played with everybody, and he's just like one of those guys that's like touched by God. He's really cool.
Yeah.
So I guess that maybe answers your question. Like that wasn't me thinking of this stuff up, but I have to give credit. I wrote
Yeah.
the chord progressions and the melodies and the words, and let the musicians kind of fill it out. I did
That's
play all the guitars though. Besides, there's only one song I didn't play the lead on, but that was new for me. Putting all the guitars down, which was fun.
that's one of the things that's always really fascinating too, is when you are putting all the various layers on all the guitars, switching parts, you have to switch the mindset yourself too, right? Like how that has to be one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah, I mean, not really, because if it's your song, I mean, there will be a time when I'll record all the instruments for something. I can do all this stuff,
Right.
but um, it really is easier because there's no translation. You don't have to
That's true.
talk to anyone about anything. It's all contained within. So, I mean, I know when I write a song what I would think the bass part would do, and so it really isn't that confusing to me. It's like as long as quick as it takes for me to put a guitar down and grab a bass, that's how long it takes me to be like, I'm a bass player now.
Switch hats.
Real quick. Yeah. Um, yeah, and harmonies, I hear all that stuff all the time, so it's like it's easy for me to. I don't have to. It's there's like songs I grew up with, like the Beatles and things, where there was songs that didn't have harmonies on, and I would automatically, this is what the harmony would be. Uh, and how I learned harmony was I had this Simon and Garfunkel tape that it was I think Wednesday morning at 3 a.m. It was one of their acoustic. It was like all just a guitar and two voices, but the way they have that in stereo is panned. So one side is like Paul Simon, one side is Art Garfunkel. So I turn off uh, the melody and just listen to the harmony. So I memorized the harmony. And I just learned like how that worked, which I thought was a kind of a cool tool, just to be able to turn one off. And then I would turn the melody back on, and then I would sing the harmony and be like, wait, that's how it goes.
That's amazing.
Pretty good
Teacher.
instructors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not too shabby.
I never Sounds of Silence. It's like, well, one, you never notice that Paul's doing the harmony, but he's singing like one note the whole time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah.
I've come to talk with you again. It's like the most like boring part, but it works really well.
I had to sing that in a choir concert in
Here we
7th
go.
grade.
Yeah.
And I had that part.
I have a quick funny story about that song. One of the first real like big shows I ever went to. I would moved from Georgia to Colorado right after high school, and I went to see Paul Simon and Bob Dylan in Denver, and I had saved up and bought the ticket. I was really excited about it, and I went there, and I was up in the nosebleeds, of course, and they were switching out every night who would go on last. So I think this night Bob was first, Paul went last. And then when Paul's set was over, everyone's cheering, trying to get an encore, and so he walked back out with just guitar and he starts playing the intro to Sounds of Silence. Everyone loses it. And it's like he's got the spotlight, it's just him, and then someone else is coming out suddenly. It's this tall, lanky guy with like fuzzy hair, and like, oh my God, Art's here. This is incredible. No one knew this. It was Bob, but
That's
he had
amazing.
changed clothes, and I just figured it was Art. It was like,
Right.
and but expecting Art Garfunkel to sing, and then hearing Bob
That's
Dylan trying to
amazing.
come around Paul Simon was like a total, like a practical joke, on like 25,000 people.
Right. But in the
Yeah.
most fantastic way.
I mean, it
When-
wasn't. It did sound pretty. Rough.
It's
Well,
hilarious.
I think I saw 2 nights on that tour. So it was like one night was Dylan singing with Paul Simon's band and then vice versa, which just the dichotomy between the two bands was amazing.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the, elaborate orchestration that is Paul Simon, and then the ramshackle, I don't know when the song ends, of Bob Dylan, but just hearing the two of them Paul keep trying to harmonize with Dylan on Sounds of Silence while Dylan is making up his own melody line was
Yeah.
hysterical, because he doesn't want to do it that way again,
Of course
ever.
not. No.
Yeah, because Paul Simon had like 3 drummers on that tour. He had like
Yep.
African drum, it was like a huge production, and Bob just had his like like a very basic rock and roll band.
Yeah.
It was cool.
You talked earlier about recording All Kinds of Blue as a single, as a 45, and then never getting around to recording the B-side. Do you still look at records like that as a side A, side B? Is this a 2-album set? Like that kind of approach to music, even though those terminology is just now seems very antiquated?
You're trying to make me seem old again, aren't you?
No, I still
He's
refer to them
just-
as albums. I refer to
I
them
do
as
too.
records.
I do
Yeah.
too. And in fairness, vinyl's back.
Oh, I do. I would like to think of it that way.
Mhm.
I used to go out to yard sales, garage sales, and and would dig through 45s, and I think I still have a decent little collection of weird ones. But yeah, it would be nice sometime, and because I'm a little bit lower on the totem pole than Margot, I have less uh 45s and things with my music. She puts out stuff. It's all about what people will buy, because I think that when my crowd is more apt to buy like a full length, whatever, or just listen to it online if whatever the deal is. But I hope at some point I can uh, do more 45s. I just like the idea of like you get this record, the one song, that's the reason you got it, and there's this like, oh, this little happy surprise, like it's another one that I didn't know about.
Mhm.
I also like the idea of the hidden track on CDs too. It's like
Yes.
music
Loved
back,
the hidden track.
That was a nice little surprise, little nugget.
Always.
And
Yes.
with that song, are you tired of being asked about Jesus getting a face tattoo? You have to be.
No, it's funny because I knew that song. I was writing it. I was sitting in our kitchen over here, and Margot was in the living room. She was doing emails or something, and I started writing it just as a disconnected poem. It wasn't like supposed to be a song. It was just kind of. I was just trying to. I was write a line and read it out loud, and just trying to make her laugh. And
Mhm.
it came to that one, and I got a good chuckle, and I was like, "Well, was the point." I was just trying to like write something that she thought was funny. Uh, so then later, I did turn it into a song, and we went over to the Prine's house, and uh, Margot was recording a thing, like he was doing this kind of in his living room session,
Mhm.
uh, and it was like John and Margot and Kenneth Pattingale from the Milk Carton Kids, and they were doing Unwed Fathers,
Mhm.
and I did a couple other songs. And after we were done, we were just kind of hanging out, and Margot was like, "I've never played anything for John before because, it was like ball of nerves. I just
Right.
He's John Prine. Yeah.
Right.
to hear him play stuff or want to hear him talk. And I've spent like quite a few nights just hanging out with the Pryans, and which is amazing. But I never even talked about the fact that I made music, and I'm not even sure up to that point that he knew that I like did my own thing. Uh, so then Margot was like, "Play that song," and of course I was like, "No," and she's like, "No." And then his interest was piqued. He's like, "Well, now you got to play it," And so I did, and because I guess he gave me his guitar, and he was still sitting in the chair he was recording in, and I don't know, for some reason, because there was no strap, he gave it to me. So I knelt down. I was kind of like right here, in front of him, and I was playing. I was like, "Why did I choose this way?" Like, play this song. I was looking at his eyes and playing it. And when I got that line, he really like lost it. He got like, the kind of laugh you get, like a little like watery eyed, because like it
Yes.
really gets you. So he told me afterwards, he's like, I'm really jealous I didn't write that line. I was like, that means the world.
Oh, now
Yeah.
that you mention it, it does sound, it's a very John Prine kind of line too.
Same.
You
Yeah.
could easily hear it fitting into any number of songs of his. But
Yeah.
since you brought it up, what kind of tattoo would Jesus get? Teardrop or
Yeah.
like a Mike Tyson kind of thing?
Well, it's funny because we did this. Me and Margo did this record that we never put out. It actually would be her third country record, but it was like a country kind of gospel-y, about like gospel in the way it was about like Jesus and the devil and whatever, subject matter. And we got all these pictures, went to thrift stores, just got like all the like gaudy pictures of Jesus you can find, the paintings,
Yes.
whatever, and pictures of the devil. We like decorated the whole studio and this stuff. And but I was drawing like little like prison tears.
Yes.
All the, I mean, that would be it. It seems to be.
It does feel like the prison tier is probably how
Maybe
we
he
Although I
go.
could
just
see-
add horror and just get like Exxon,
Mm.
That's true.
logo. Just go for it.
I could totally see that too.
But I could also see him going from more of a Kiss kind of like, if there is anybody who could go by the name Star Child,
It would definitely be
legitimately, it would be
Jesus.
Christ, I feel
That's
like.
true.
Yeah.
And like the full, yeah, that's true. But
He
maybe
does-
he'd want to be the Catman. I
Mm,
mean, he'd
that's
be
true.
an adorable Catman.
The belly button ring vibe in my mind.
Oh yeah,
Face
for
tattoo.
sure. I feel like there's an ankle tattoo too,
Yeah.
peeking out under that robe completely.
There's definitely an ankle bracelet.
Well, that too, yeah.
Standing on the corner, waiting for the ambulance, feeling like a Rembrandt. Tell the angels of Fifth Street.
Invisible Pictures, the new album by Jeremy Ivey, is available this Friday wherever you get your records. For more information and for tour dates, check out his website, jeremyivey.com.
You can check us out on all the various socials. Be sure to visit our website at rockandrollgradschool.com, and don't forget to leave us a review.
Today's show is produced by myself and Heidi Hedquist. Our reluctant producers are John Sauvé and Sandy Stone. Our willing producers are Rachel Allen and Randy Jeanette. Our intern is Zach Jackson. This one's for Philippe. Thank you, good night, and may all your favorite bands stay together.
Went to Florida with her undercover